Hi, I'm Eric J. Barkman. Welcome to the first episode of my new series, Time Out. Now, for any of you who read my writing, you've probably realized that I kind of love time travel. So in this series, what I'm going to be doing is looking at time travel in various different fictional universes, explaining how it works, what makes sense, what doesn't, and trying to come up with a set of rules that it follows, assuming the series itself doesn't lay out the rules. And even if they do, explaining which of those rules do and don't actually get followed within the series. For this episode, I'll be going over the Arrowverse. Specifically, Season 1 of The Flash, as that's the only thing out as of this video being made that actually includes time travel. Just a word of warning, there will be spoilers for all of the first season from the first episode to the last. So if you haven't seen it, you might want to turn off this video. And even if you don't mind spoilers, a lot of it probably won't make sense if you haven't seen it, as I won't be going into, explicit details on who everyone is or what the plot lines of episodes are beyond what's relevant for explaining the time travel. So the show starts off with the night that Barry's mother was killed by the Man in Yellow. Now, at the time, we don't know that time travel is involved here, although anyone familiar with The Flash obviously knows it is. And even if the show is your first exposure to The Flash, it's not too hard to figure out. So in this scene, Barry's mother is killed after a battle involving the Reverse Flash, aka Eobard Thawne, and future version of the Flash, Barry Allen himself. But even if you didn't realize time travel was involved here, it does come up at the end of the episode where it shows Wells, who we later learn is Eobard Thawne. It shows him looking at a computer image of a newspaper from the year 2024 and shows an article talking about the Flash going missing, which was written by Evan Gibson. Remember that, it's going to be relevant later. The next major episode that deals with time travel is episode 7, titled Power Outage. In the beginning of the episode, Wells again looks in the newspaper, it's the same, and he comments that the future remains intact. Then, during the episode, the Flash loses powers, thus the title. At which point, the newspaper changes, and Wells cannot get Gideon, his computer, to find any mention of the Flash or Barry Allen in the historical records, thus showing that the timeline has been altered. But wait, time out, wait. That doesn't make sense. Unless time travel was involved, Barry losing his powers should have already been part of the timeline. So, thus, it shouldn't have altered the timeline. Unless Gideon isn't just showing records it has of the future, but it's actually connected to the future through some kind of temporal internet or something? I don't know. Either way, if that's the case, then by Wells constantly checking to see if the timeline is the same, he's actually engaging in time travel of sorts every time he does this, and thus it's his actions that somehow altered the timeline. We get some very interesting time travel stuff in episodes 15 and 16 titled Out of Time and Rogue Time. At the beginning of Out of Time, Barry is running towards the morgue when he sees a duplicate of himself on his right. The duplicate disappears, he comes to a stop, he's a bit weirded out by it, but he has other stuff to take care of. At the end of the episode, where he's running really fast to save the city when all of a sudden he travels back in time to that night, and this time he sees a duplicate of himself on his left, which disappears as he comes out the same spot he did originally. Oh, wait, time out. The first episode, and a few times since, we saw the night Barry's mother died, where it had both future Barry and Kid Barry. Both of them existed simultaneously, so why is it suddenly in this case one of them is disappearing? Not to mention, why was it the first time that it was the future one that disappeared, second time it was the past one that disappeared? How does this track? Well, here's my theory. The reason that the first time it was the one coming back that disappeared, and the second time wasn't, was that the first time it was a Flash from a previous timeline who almost made it back, but couldn't quite do it. This is similar to what you sometimes see in Star Trek, where somebody beams in, they start appearing, but then all of a sudden something goes wrong, and they get pulled back and appear wherever they originally were. This time, because Barry saw this attempt, because it wasn't a conscious decision, but when it happens to him, that's timeline been slightly altered enough that this time he actually makes it through. But what happens to the Flash in the new timeline? Best I can figure, somehow the two Flashes must have merged together because of any combination of events involving them running right next to each other, the fact that the time travel was accidental and Barry didn't know what was going on, and just weird timey-wimey stuff because the Speed Force works in mysterious ways. Of course, this also showed us how time travel can happen by running really, really fast. Although, it can't be just that, because in Rogue Time, after explaining the situation to Wells, they did some testing and Barry was able to run at the same speed without time travel. So it's more than just running really, really fast. Again, Speed Force. Another interesting thing, though, that happened was that in the original timeline in Out of Time, Cisco discovered that who Wells was and all that, and then Wells killed him. In episode 18, titled All-Star Team Up, it was revealed that Cisco has been having nightmares of his death in this alternate timeline, which helps with the characters investigating him after they'd already started getting suspicious of him, and culminates with them finding Wells' secret room in episode 19, who is Harrison Wells, the secret room where he keeps Gideon and his costume and other such stuff. Finally, at the end of the episode, then in episode 20 of the trap at the start, they begin questioning Gideon. Remember when I said it would be important that the newspaper article about the Flash disappearing was written by Evan Gibson? Now we can see that it was written by Iris West Allen, which means one of two things. Either we weren't supposed to notice who wrote it in the first episode and this is just a normal plot hole, or something has changed as a result of, time travel at some point, which led to Iris being the writer of this article instead of whoever the hell Evan Gibson is. Which is interesting because in episode 23, the season finale, titled Fast Enough, Barry and Iris assume the newspaper was from the original timeline, not their current timeline. That's just a mistake on the character's part, I assume. I assume it's not a mistake on the writer's part. Certainly they've made other mistakes involving time travel, but this seems like a bit too glaring even for them. Moving on, also in episode 23, the season finale, it's revealed that the reason Cisco was seeing dreams of himself being killed in the other timeline was because he can see through the vibrations of the universe into other timelines. kind of cool and creepy. But I'm not sure what it really means for time travel rules, as it doesn't really have much of an effect on them as far as I can figure out. Of course, the biggest thing in episode 23 is that Barry and, well, or Eobard Thawne, as they now know him as, made it a deal. They would work together and create a stable wormhole to all of time so that Barry could go back, save his mother, and in return, Eobard could return to his own time. Now, Barry goes back, but he sees his future self there, who motions for him not to intervene. And so, as hard as he doesn't stop his mother from being killed by Eobard. And then, in anger, he returns and stops Eobard in his time from going home. But this leads into a fight where Eobard has the upper hand until Eddie shoots himself, and thus causing Eobard to disappear because Eddie is his ancestor. But wait, time out, that doesn't make sense. If this would cause Eobard to disappear, it would also change everything he's done, well, ever, including, so Barry's mother would still be alive, the particle accelerator would never have been built, Barry wouldn't be Flash yet, character connections would be very different, and in some cases non-existent, and just everything would be changed. It wouldn't just be Eobard would, poof out of existence. Now, best I can figure is that there is something in place similar to Rule of My Own series. When a person changes the timeline, it only changes stuff that happens after that point. Even if time travel would be involved, that would change things before it. Which basically means that Eddie killing himself, yes, would have stopped Eobard from eventually being born, and everything Eobard did in his own time wouldn't have happened. But when Eobard came back in time to before Eddie shot himself by a good 15 years, I think it was, about that, 15 years ago, that Eobard would have still arrived there even though he no longer existed before that point, and so would have still done everything that he did. He would still have all of his memories from his original timeline that no longer exists, and this fits in with everything else we've seen in the show. The question is then, why did Eobard disappear when Eddie shot himself? Because yes, this is something after Eddie did it, but Eobard coming back happened before, so it wouldn't just be him disappearing. He would still exist in this timeline. Best I can figure. Now, see, the wormhole that they used to time travel, they had to shut it down so that it wouldn't, destroy everything. But then, right after Eobard disappeared, which took a while, mind you, it wasn't instantaneous, which is interesting. And after he died, the wormhole opened back up and then became a black hole and started sucking everything in. But that part isn't too relative to this. What I'm thinking is that the wormhole never fully shut down. It was just too small to be detected by their instruments. Thus, what happened was that Eobard, because he's in the close proximity to this wormhole, and because he has Gideon, he has a portable version of Gideon with him, which we already established has a connection to the future through a temporal internet of some sort, was temporally in both this time and his own time. Thus, he disappeared in the same way that I said, him in the future would have disappeared, but him in the past wouldn't have. Because as far as temporal mechanics were concerned, he was still in his own time. I'm not sure if that makes full sense, but it's the best I can explain it, and it's the best I can figure out for the situation. So basically, in conclusion, the way time travel works is that in this universe is that timeline can be altered, but it doesn't alter stuff that happened before the alteration, and it also doesn't change the memories of the people doing the time travel. Obviously, like, somebody goes back in time, something goes back to their own time, they'll still remember the original timeline, not the new one. Our understanding of it will, of course, improve as more stuff comes out. Flash Season 2 starts on Tuesday. Legends of Tomorrow starts in a few months. I think early 2016 it's supposed to start. I'll do a follow-up episode about the Arrowverse after Flash Season 2 ends, presumably. The next episode, though, I'll be doing episode 2 on Atomic Robo, one of my favorite comic book series. And that episode will come out whenever it's done. I mean, you don't expect a vlog series on time travel to actually come out on a regular schedule, do you? So yeah, tell me below in the comments what you think of my theories, what I got right, what I got wrong, what your own theories are. Thumbs the video up if you like it. Thumbs it down if you don't. Subscribing would be great. You can also check out my Patreon, my Tumblr, my Twitter. I'll have links to all of those in the description down below. And that's about it for this episode. So, have fun.